Hello, my name is Pooja. Welcome to another episode of Around the World. A resolution was introduced in the United Nations Human Rights Council to discuss human rights issues in Sri Lanka. The resolution was drafted by countries like the United States, Canada, Germany, Malawi, Montenegro, and North Macedonia. The resolution was introduced on the basis of reports prepared by the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Amnesty International, and other human rights related agencies. In the report, government officials in high positions were held responsible for gross violation of human rights during the Sri Lankan economic and political crises. These reports revealed that government officials adopted a barbaric and irresponsible attitude during the Sri Lankan crises. Out of the 47 members of UNHRC, 20 members voted in favor of the resolution introduced against Sri Lanka, while 7 member countries opposed it. 20 member countries, including India, Japan, Indonesia, and Malaysia, abstained from voting. India abstained from voting on the resolution but urged the Sri Lankan government to fulfill its commitments to the Tamil minority. Actually, inflation and unemployment were at their peak during the economic crises in Sri Lanka. Food prices skyrocketed, people starved, and hundreds of people died during the crises. The government authorities tried to harshly suppress the protests staged by the Sri Lankans. In this regard, this resolution was introduced so that Sri Lanka could fulfill the promises made to the international community and ensure the effective operation of agencies that prevent human rights violations. Amnesty International, a global human rights body, has prepared a detailed report on civil and political rights violations during Sri Lanka's economic crises. Whenever human rights violations in Sri Lanka are discussed, then the persecution of the Sri Lankan Tamil minority comes to the fore. Significantly, these Tamil minorities are religiously, culturally, and ethnically related to India. And this issue has a significant impact on both the national and international politics of India. India also presented its stance on the resolution related to the accountability and promotion of human rights in Sri Lanka. India's permanent representative in Geneva stated that Sri Lanka has not yet taken the necessary steps to protect the interest of the Tamil minority. In addition, the Sri Lankan government has failed to find a permanent and effective solution to meet the aspirations of the Tamils. In this regard, India has always expressed its commitment to peace and reconciliation in view of the interest of Tamils in Sri Lanka. India has always respected the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Sri Lanka for maintaining equality, justice, and dignity among Sri Lankans. On the resolution introduced against Sri Lanka in UNHRC, 20 members voted in favor of it, while 7 member countries opposed it. 20 member countries abstained from voting on the resolution. This resolution should not be considered as a mere resolution introduced against human rights abuses in Sri Lanka. When the resolution is viewed minutely, it appears to be a cocktail of grouping, lobbying, and balance of power between countries in global politics. In this context, let us try to understand the implications of this resolution from the geopolitical point of view, as well as the grounds on which this resolution has been prepared. The 20 countries that have voted in favor of this resolution related to human rights in Sri Lanka are political allies of the US and Western countries. The countries which have supported this resolution include Western countries such as the UK, US, France, Germany, and the Netherlands. Other countries which have supported this resolution include Sweden and Finland. The countries that are afraid of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and are willing to join NATO. Ukraine, which is under Russian invasion, has also supported this resolution. It is a well-known fact that Ukraine's initiative for NATO membership is the main reason for the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. In addition, countries like Armenia, the Czech Republic, and Lithuania, who have supported this resolution, are political allies of the US and they oppose the aggressive policies of Russia, Montenegro, once a part of Yugoslavia, joined NATO in 2017 and is a major Western ally, has also supported this resolution. Similarly, the South American states of Paraguay, Argentina, and Honduras have supported this resolution, and they are also strong political allies of the US. As an exception, South Korea among Asian countries and Malawi among African countries have voted in favor of this resolution. The 7 countries, namely Bolivia, China, Cuba, Pakistan, Eritrea, Uganda, and Venezuela, voted against this resolution. Notably, none of them is a European country. All these countries either have soured relations with the US or they support China. The current bilateral relations between China and the US are known to all. Cuba, which is a communist country, is a staunch adversary of the US since the time of the Cold War. The South American nations of Venezuela and Bolivia also have tensions with the US. Pakistan voted against the resolution because of its strong ties with Sri Lanka and close friendship with China. Being a special ally of China, Kazakhstan often takes China's side on any resolution. Actually, the only country that did not participate in the vote was Japan, which is a special political ally of the US. Japan has always prioritized reforms by providing financial aid rather than publicly shaming Sri Lanka. Other nations that abstained from voting on this resolution are currently either against the US and the West or follow a free and neutral foreign policy. The US had a better relationship with Brazil under Donald Trump's tenure, but relations between the two countries have strained after the Biden government came to power, as the Biden administration is accused of supporting leftist parties in Brazil. Countries such as Gabon, Zambia, Cameroon, Somalia, and Namibia have also strained relations with the US and European nations. UAE's growing trade with China has distanced it from the US, whereas countries like India and Malaysia become neutral on the resolutions introduced against a particular nation. It is quite evident that global politics is a victim of lobbying and countering each other. Countries give priority to embarrassing hostile nations and ignore real humanitarian issues. This resolution brought against Sri Lanka is being strongly criticized because it is believed that the human rights standards made by the US and Western countries are not suitable for all regions and communities of the world. The scale of determining human rights standards adopted by European nations is based on the obnoxious white man's burden theory. Apart from this, the wide trade relations between Sri Lanka and China also prompt nations like the US to bring biased resolutions against Sri Lanka. In this regard, it cannot be denied that the nations that moved the resolution had expected India to vote in their favor, as India has always been vocal against Sri Lanka for Tamil rights. But India has set a wonderful example of an independent foreign policy by adopting a policy of neutrality in this matter. That's all in this episode. Let us note down the question based on today's story. Give a realistic review of the resolution introduced in relation to human rights violations in Sri Lanka.